The word actor brings to mind stardom, seduction, fame, and fortune. Also, living on pennies, dreams, and on other people's couches. The craft is a mindset, one that can change the way you see yourself and the world around you. It isn't Hollywood. It's not Broadway. This is Riddlesbrood. So welcome to the Acting Out Podcast. And now your host, Clyde P. Riddlesbrood.
Hello, hello, hello. And thank you for joining us today for the Riddlesbrood Touring Theater Company's Acting Out Podcast. My name is Clyde P. Riddlesbrood, and we have a very special guest today that I'm very proud to present, Parker Smith. Parker Smith has been an actor. I've known him for many years, probably almost 30 years. He worked at Elaine's Dinner Theater and many other places. So without further ado, I would like to give you a chance to introduce yourself, Parker.
Well, hi, I am Parker Smith. A little bit about myself. I was, for 40 years, I had dual careers. I was a criminal trial attorney during the day, and at night, I was a theatrical actor working in various professional theaters in South Jersey, one of which was, of course, Elaine's Dinner Theater that I worked at for
forever,
at least 30 years. It's where I met Mr. Riddlesbrood
and my dad
and his father, who is the one who got me started as Scrooge.
Yes. When was the first time you did Scrooge? Is it like 91 or?
I can't remember the year. I know I did it for at least 25 years, maybe more. But I don't remember the first year I did it. I had been working at a different theater, and I came in to substitute for another actor that had to leave a show that your father was directing. At the conclusion of that show, which was, I think, a show that ran into the fall, he asked me if I'd be interested in doing Scrooge. And I said, sure. Now, bear in mind, I was a much younger man. And the funny thing is, back then it used to take me a good 2 hours to put my makeup on.
Wow.
And unfortunately, it no longer takes me very long at all.
Yeah, I'm similar like that. I used to have to put a lot more black on and white, and now I can get away with a lot less. I got to tell you, it's fun to have you on the podcast, Parker. One of the things, and I want to mention that I have you on today is because Parker's, of course, going to be revising his role of Scrooge, Ebenezer Scrooge, in our big Dickens Festival at Smithville. That's actually Black Friday weekend. It's coming up very, very shortly, just 2 weeks, I believe. And you did it not last year, but the year before, right?
That's correct. And I had a tremendous experience doing it. It was a totally different show, even though the script was very similar, but it was a completely different kind of an experience because of the way your company presents it, which was a lot of fun. Well,
you know what? The thing that I sometimes say is that, I worked at Elaine's for many, many years with my dad, and I try really hard to kind of keep that kind of vibe of the kind of theater, the funny jokes, the silly bits, the campy breaking character, actors making each other laugh, so I really always loved that. About working there, and I really wanted to make sure that style kept going. So it was always wonderful to have you back involved, and we have a couple other Elaine's alumni involved as well. Do you remember at Elaine's Dinner Theater, like some of the funnier jokes that we would put into the show that really kind of you remember?
I do. One that always cracked me up was at one point when I was on stage in my nightgown,
right,
as Scrooge, the ghost of Christmas Present,
right,
would say, "I've always been meaning to ask you, Scrooge, boxers or briefs?"
Oh God!
And the response was, depends.
Yep, I remember that one.
And I always found that to be hysterical.
Who injected that joke in? I'm
sure it was your father.
Yeah. Well, that was what made it so much fun, because I remember, we would do the show there, and especially at that time, it was in the mid to late 90s, people would come to see a family-friendly Christmas show, a traditional Christmas show, and there they're expecting it to be, you know, I hate to say it, but a boring, you know, community theater Christmas show. And I always used to love it when the audience would realize, wait a minute, these guys are cracking jokes and making improvs and ad-libbing. And it really, you know, lit it up the audience. They were so excited to see that we were going that route.
Yeah. To me, it was what made it special was the blend of keeping the story traditional,
right,
but making it our own.
Right.
And not only making jokes amongst ourselves as actors, but drawing the audience in and breaking down that fourth wall and speaking directly to the audience.
Right.
That always made, to me, for a more inclusive experience for the audience because they felt that they were part of the show.
Exactly. It makes it more interactive. And you kind of a little bit leaned into something that's important is that not all actors realize that there's a nuance to that because you can't go overboard. Like, you know, it still needs to be like 80%, maybe 90% straight.
Right.
And only that 10% where you're really getting into the silly stuff, because if you go too far, it becomes a farce, and then nothing works anymore.
Well, then you lose your credibility with the audience.
Right.
And you kill a traditional Christmas show.
Yeah. And we've done that. I mean, there's definitely been times where we went way too far, and if it's like, okay, you know, we're doing ridiculous jokes and it's going off the rails. But honestly, usually we really try to keep it from going that far. Usually it's the greenhorns that would like get excited and then go too far.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, like you said, I think the word that you used that was most appropriate is nuanced.
Yeah.
You have to be nuanced about it and know how far you can put your feet right on the line without crossing over.
Well, the other thing too is it's the contrast. Like if you're the audience is, to me, I feel like my job out there when I'm an actor is not just to get the laugh, but it's also to impress them a little bit with our acting ability, because the contrast between that, like sometimes, you know, when you're doing the heartfelt Tiny Tim scene, you know, he's dying, the gravestone's there, and you do that really well, and then you can have a punchline for the next scene right after that. Maybe not the very end of that scene, but my point is like they appreciate, like, wow, these guys can really, you know, inhabit the part and really pull it off well. You know, not like a high school kid doing a play, but they're real good actors, but they can also jump across the line and do some jokes too. That's, I think, the magic chemistry.
The other thing I like about the style of the way we present this Christmas classic is that if we just did a straight script and didn't add those ad libs and some of those silly jokes, it would, I think, become very boring for us as actors.
Yes. And
then that would translate to the audience. What's fun about the way we do it is that no two shows are ever alike.
Not really.
Because of the fact that we feed off of each other and we never know what's going to happen because things happen, you know, the set will start to fall apart or your costume will fall off.
Right. Your mic will fall off.
You never know what's going to happen. And the way to make it funny is how you react to that in the moment.
Right.
And the nice thing about doing it that way is that you're never going to get bored, and your audience, even if they've seen you do the show, and back when Ari Lane's days, I had people that would come up to me after the show and say, "We come every year. We've come for 25 years, and we don't just come once. We come like 5 times."
I don't know.
And you know, that's a real, I think, a tribute to not me necessarily as an actor, but as part of a company that's able to make this old show new every night.
I like what you said as far as customers would say, you know, boy, you know, we come back every year. That's, to me, that's like music to my ears. It's like the greatest reward that you can hear, because Riddlesbrood's trying to do the very same thing. Now, obviously, with our festival, we do a Christmas Carol in all kinds of restaurants like Braddock's Tavern in Medford, and we're doing one at the Mud Hen in Wildwood coming up this season. So we have I think we have 40 Christmas shows in December alone. I mean, a ton. But the outdoor one that we do for the festival, it has a special place in my heart, because honestly, most of our dinner theater shows tend to have a small cast, and the cost structure needs to be, in line with what the market will bear.
Right.
But the big show, we can really kind of go all out. We can have, a big cast of 35 people, all the kids. And to me, that's what really makes it a fun, nice, traditional Christmas thing that everybody can come and see for free.
Right.
And we're able to underwrite that with our vendors. Thank goodness that they help us out. But they support this thing that's wonderful for the community where anybody can come and see the show. Bring a little chair with you and sit down. And you'll watch a free, 2-hour Christmas Carol show with all the funny jokes.
Yeah. Even my own family, who has seen me do this a million times, really, really enjoyed coming up to Smithville when I did it the last time, because it's such a neat event outdoors. There's something about being out in that crisp air, doing a Christmas show that just adds just another dimension.
It kind of brings almost like a medieval, pageant show that they used to do in the old days. It seems like now, obviously, to me, it's even more wonderful. Like when it's a night show and we have the lighting and the fog and, that really comes alive then. But I was going to ask you, Parker, so what is it about the character of Scrooge that you like so much that makes you want to keep coming back? I mean, you must have done Scrooge 5,000 times.
Yeah.
What makes you still say, I want to do it again?
Well, because it's such a great message. It's the message of redemption, and it's never too late to become a better person. And I think that is just such a wholesome, universal, theme that everybody can relate to. For me as an actor, it gives me something each performance to dig deep inside myself and find something new about myself and how Scrooge relates to me. I love Christmas time. I've always had. My wife and I go all out in decorating the house, and so.
And your wife has a dance studio, doesn't she?
She does. She does. As a matter of fact, she does Christmas theme with her company. She does a little cut down version of the Nutcracker.
Okay.
And she takes that on the road.
Yeah.
So this year she'll be doing that at La Mer restaurant in Cape May.
How long has she had that? I mean, I think
she just celebrated her 40th year in business.
That's amazing. Talk about a tradition. Yeah. I'm sure there's so many kids that were involved as little kids, and now they're married with kids.
Well, yeah. And so last June, she had her 40th anniversary dance recital. And unbeknownst to her, myself and my daughter, who works at the studio as well, who's also a dancer and choreographer and teacher, reached out to all of the alumni. And we brought back, I think, somewhere around 30 plus former students.
Wow.
And they all got together and rehearsed and did a number, which was the number one from Chorus Line.
Okay.
Which, again, has a special place in our hearts because that's where my wife and I met.
Right.
We met on stage. Stina was my leading lady in a Chorus Line.
I didn't know that.
Yep. 40 years ago, we did a regional theater production of A Chorus Line in a little theater that doesn't exist anymore, but it was in Ventnor, New Jersey, right outside of Atlantic City, called Genesius Theater. I was working as an attorney, and another attorney that I not only practiced law with, but he was also, like me, an actor. And he directed the show. And he called me one night and said, "Hey, I got the rights to do a Chorus Line, and I want you to play the lead character of Zach." And he said, "I found you a beautiful leading lady. You're going to fall in love with her." And so this woman walks into the theater, and I was like thunderstruck.
Wow.
So 40 years later, 3 kids later, 3 grandchildren later, we're still together.
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice. You mentioned there was another actor in that show that was also a lawyer?
Yeah.
Is that common that actors also are lawyers? Because that's unsettling.
I don't know. Well, a lot of people say, wow, that's really different. I said, not when you think about it, because trial lawyers really are just actors.
Right.
The only difference is our audience is a captive audience.
Right.
They can't get up and walk out on us.
Yeah, that's funny. I know one of the things, I'm sure it's got to be wonderful for your wife and Stina to be, able to say that for 40 years, this is our 25th anniversary for Riddlesbrood. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's actually a big deal for us. I'm extremely proud to be able to say that we're still keeping it alive after this long. And we hope to hit the 40. I hope I'm still around for that.
Yeah. And I'm sure your dad is smiling down.
I hope he is. I hope he taught me everything I know about comedy. I'm not going to lie about that.
He was a funny guy. He really was.
He was a crazy guy.
And he and I, we had great chemistry together. We really did. When I was on stage with him, there would be nights where talk about going off a little bit, where we would get so wound up that they needed like a net to bring us back to.
Wasn't it usually Christmas present when you were Scrooge?
Yes.
Usually, right?
Yes. And that was always my favorite scene too.
Yeah. Well, see, that's a beautiful scene because there's a little bit of gravitas to it, and then, but also you can squeak in the silly little ad libs.
It's a wonderful, wonderful scene because it's one of the few scenes where is it the only scene that Scrooge actually sings.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
And dances a little bit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so.
Depending on who the Scrooge is, but yes. Well, again, I got to say, I'm super, super proud to be able to say, Parker, that you've come back and done the Christmas Carol with us as Scrooge. Yeah. It's a joy and an honor for me, especially since I've known you for so long, and it was, up there as a legend, as a Scrooge over at Elaine's Dinner Theater. Didn't they name the stage after you 1 year before they closed?
They did.
What a joyous
They
reward.
did. What a kiss of death. They presented me with this nice plaque. They said that they were going to mount onto the stage, and this was officially the Parker Smith stage at Elaine's Dinner Theater. And the next year they closed.
I don't take this the wrong way, but I don't know if I want to name a stage after you. I always thought that was wait a minute, couldn't you have stuck around for another 3 years?
Yeah. If I had known that, I would have said, "Could you just give me a gold watch?"
Yeah. So you should have went in the next year and said, "Can I scrape that plaque off there?" But anyway, honestly, Elaine's. I have such fond memories. Not always great with certain things, but obviously when it comes to the theater, it was always a joy. To work there. I mean, it was such a unique type of environment. There's really nothing ever that I've seen like that, except Riddlesbrood is the only thing that I think is still like that. Every other theater show that I've seen it doesn't have that same kind of energy.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
Have you seen anything like that?
No. And the audience, could tell that we were having fun, that we weren't up there just working. A lot of times, I love, as an actor, going to see other actors, and I love going to other theaters. And, Cape May's got a couple professional theaters in town, and I love going there. But sometimes I look at the performances and I think, these people are just working.
Right.
They're not
into it.
They're not having as much fun as they should.
Well, maybe that's just comedy. Maybe comedy allows that.
Well, yeah. Comedy's hard.
You know what? It's kind of funny because
death is easy. Comedy is hard.
I've known so many actors, actually, because, a lot of times, a lot of what you might call elitist actors might look down on dinner theater and look down at murder mysteries and things like that. But I've always found that, usually the murder mystery dinner theater style actor usually has to be way better.
Yeah. Because,
regular actors are so used to being on a stage far away from the audience, insulated, that they don't know how to act.
Right. And again, if they forget the line, they look like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
Whereas we were so used to ad-libbing and so used to just picking up whatever was happening as it was happening and making that part of the show, that's just a real talent. I always used to say that working dinner theater was like guerrilla combat training.
That's a good way to say it.
Because if you could do that, you can do anything.
Well, did you ever have this experience? I know I did. When I would do, when I was in college, I would work at Elaine's all summer and get used to doing the ad libs and being, jumping off the hip and, shooting off the hip, that kind of thing, being really quick. You know, you have to have your wit is really well lubricated and ready to jump. And then I would go do like a college show with, you know, arsenic and old lace or something. And something would invariably go wrong. And I was able to just start ad-libbing and say, oh, what are you doing over there? You know? And at the end of the show, people would look at you like you were a god. Like, how did you do that? I'm like, well, I mean, you got to kill the dead air.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of.
Have you had that?
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of really good actors who had no idea what to do when things went off the rails. We used to look forward.
Well, sometimes we'd rig it. We'd actually pretend to mess up so that we could actually like act like we're toying with each other.
Yeah.
You know, but that's all those little nuances that make it so much fun. And honestly, I always like to say this for you, if you're an actor out there listening to this and, you know, been in a couple shows yourself, think of dinner theater as a guerrilla. It's guerrilla warfare for theater actors. But it will teach you. It will really train you and stretch you. And really, it's like a workout for your comic timing and your chemistry.
Well, it's the same thing with the comedians. You know, the best basic training is for stand-ups is just to go out into clubs and get up there and do it and be absolutely naked.
Yeah. Take the hits.
You got nothing to fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to, you got to keep it going. And
you don't learn anything by winning all the time. You know, you only learn by that pain of, oh, God, this hurts.
Well, somebody once told me the way to increase your successes by 50% is to increase your failures by 100%.
That's a good policy.
That's how you learn.
Well, you know what? If you're an actor thinking about getting involved, we have auditions. We have 2 a year, big auditions. We have a big spring show. And of course, we do a lot of dinner theater and murder mystery shows all over New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York, and sometimes even a little bit farther. So I would encourage you, if you're listening and you're like, you know what, I want to try this. Or maybe I've done a show at a community theater or in a high school thing or a church thing, and give it a shot. Come on out, get out there, and you know what? You'll learn a lot. You'll become a much better actor. And even if you don't stick around for a long time, when you go back to another theater, you'll know right away that you've gotten better. You're stronger. You were weightlifting.
And I guarantee you'll have fun.
Oh, yeah. It's always about fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Parker, I want to ask you, too, since you've been doing this so long, and I know besides Scrooge and doing theater around here, I know you also do a lot of film and some commercials and make a couple bucks at it. If a young actor that was aspiring and, had a lot of gumption and energy came up to you and said, can you give me some advice on what to do? What would you say?
Absolutely. My big advice is to find work. And by work, I don't necessarily mean work that's going to pay you initially, but there are plenty of opportunities to perform. And community theater is a great way to start. Between community theater and high school productions, it's how I got my start. And I acted all through junior high, high school, college. And as soon as I graduated from law school, the first thing I did was found a local theater that I could get involved in. The big thing is don't worry about getting formal training as much as getting experience. And there's always some place where you can find to get some experience. There's a lot of good community theaters out there, big and small. That's the way to do it. Just take as many jobs as you can and learn as much as you can, because you'll be amazed at how much you learn, even if you never take one formal acting class in your entire life, just by the people that you're exposed to in the business that are actors with experience and directors with experience, and even the people behind the scenes. You'll learn so much about the process, and you'll take all of that with you. And,
well, not only that,
just build on it.
The networking. I mean, when you're going to meet so many actors, I can't tell you how many times an audition didn't get as many people. And what does the director say? Hey guys, does anybody know anybody?
Yep.
And that's how a lot of actors come in is because of who they know.
Yeah. And it goes all the way to the top, because Friday I got a call from Paris from a casting director.
Wow.
who said, I'm calling from Paris, but I'm casting a film that we're going to shoot in Manhattan at the Whitney Museum, which is a famous art museum in the Chelsea section of Manhattan. And would you be, we saw your background on Backstage, which is one of the casting platforms. Asked me if I would audition for a big role. So,
I mean, that's how it all comes. I mean, some people
that's something that I wasn't even seeking out, but they found me.
Yeah. And this is another important thing I always mention to new actors too, is don't burn your bridges. Like a lot of people, it's not like working at McDonald's. Don't go in and then have a bad day and storm out and screw everybody, because that'll also spread. You know, people say, oh, don't use that guy. He quit like a week before opening. And so you really want to try to be on your best behavior, you know, as much as possible, because you don't want to be looked at as a quitter or a drop or any of that stuff.
Right. And never think that you're the most important part of the show, because every show, no matter what part you have, it's a group effort.
No small parts, just small actors.
Small actors. And that's true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true.
Well, Parker, thank you so much. Again, thanks for coming out.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, definitely. And ladies and gentlemen out there, keep in mind that our big Christmas Carol, our Scrooge show, is actually happening at historic Smithville Black Friday weekend. It's Saturday the 29th and Sunday the 30th. On Saturday, the show is at 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock. And on Sunday, it's 1 o'clock. The shows are completely free. Please bring your families, bring your friends, bring your pets, bring everybody. Come on out, enjoy the show, and shop a little bit and keep our vendors happy for us as well. In the meantime, folks, you can always find out more by checking us out online at riddlesbrood.com. That's RIDDLESBROOD. Thanks, and have a great night.